So I will now introduce our final speaker, Dr. Oleg Barabanov. Oleg is a Russian historian and political scientist. He is also program director at the Valdai International Discussion Club, which is essentially Russia's equivalent of the US Council on Foreign Relations. And he is also a professor at the MGIMO University in Moscow, which is also Russia's premier institution, premier university for training its diplomatic cadre. So Oleg, please go. And I should say Oleg is an old friend of the IMG and has appeared many times before for us. So Oleg, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Radhika, for inviting me once again for the International Manifesto Group meeting. I'm very glad always to be here with you. And what I'd like to say is, first of all, the start of the military conflict on 24 February was from my point of view, quite unexpected for the Russian audience, for the Russian experts as well. Because let's remember that previously in 2014, when there were all possibilities for Vladimir Putin to enlarge, let's say, the conflict zone, to enlarge the conflict and to have maybe then major and quick victories in the east of Ukraine, all those possibilities. I'm not speaking about moral choices. This I'm just about cynical political choices speaking now. This political choice, this political opportunity was not taken by Putin. Another point during the military campaign of the second half, let's say, end of summer, autumn 2014, and then beginning 2015, there are major opportunities for the Donetsk militias and other pro-Russian or Russian, who knows, military groups to go ahead and to take Mariupol, then to take other military achievements, and nothing was done there. And there were quite visible rumors within the Russian audience, within the Russian public opinion, and within the Russian expert society, that there was a kind of shadow agreement between the Kremlin oligarchs and Ukrainian oligarchs. Because if we took the industrial map of the Donetsk region, we'll see that in Mariupol, the steel factory, the key steel factory, the huge steel factory, belongs to Rinat Akhmetov, one of the key Ukrainian oligarchs. And in Avdiivka, near Donetsk, he also owned the major coal preparing factory for these steel works. And so the idea of shadow agreements was to leave both Mariupol and Avdiivka in Ukrainian hands, to allow to Rinat Akhmetov to continue to work legally on the Ukrainian side. That was the results of the military campaigns of 2014 and 15. And already then many Russian patriots, many Russian groups in the patriotic part, I use the name patriot and patriotic in the very neutral sense of the word. So this group were already angry on the Kremlin shadow agreements with the Ukrainians. And so nobody expected a military operation. Then 1 year before, in 2021, when the Western intelligence already mentioned that there were a grouping of huge Russian armed forces near the border and so on, and they were expecting that maybe the major conflict would start, nothing happened, and instead of them, there was a kind of diplomatic blackmail from the Russian side, asking for the summit with the new elected US President Joe Biden. And there was a Putin-Biden summit there. And when at the beginning of the 2022, when there were the new Western intelligence reports about Russian military groupings around the border, nobody expected, in fact, that there will be the real conflict, and many people expected it was a second round of a diplomatic blackmail or something like this. And it's interesting to say that in mid-February 22, me and about 10 other quite prominent, I would say, foreign policy experts in Russia. I'm not saying that myself I'm a prominent expert, but many of others were really prominent, very well-known experts. We decided to ask each other what will be, the war or the peace? And absolutely everybody, 10 prominent experts in foreign policy and defense policy in Russia, said there will be peace, there will be no war. So it was 2 weeks before the start of the military campaign. That's why, from my point of view, this military campaign started on 24 February. Was in that sense not prepared previously, not only for the Russian or general audience, but for the expert circles as well. And I remember the real shock of almost everybody in the morning of 24 February. Many experts, many politicians, so almost nobody expected. And then now it's quite visible that we can say about a kind of misperception or miscalculation of the first stage of the military conflict. Because I suspect that the Kremlin expected something similar and something easy and quick, similar to Crimea 8 years before. And so there was maybe very bad intelligence gathering from the Russian side on the situation within the Ukrainian army, the situation within the Ukrainian society, the moral strength of the Ukrainian society and Ukrainian army to defend their independence. So it was a huge miscalculation that everybody seen, but nobody took any responsibility for it from the Russian part. There were some rumors that some figures were under house arrest, some KGB figures responsible for Ukrainian operation, that maybe Surkov, one of the key Kremlin ideologists behind Ukraine, was under house arrest, but it was not officially confirmed, and who knows. And anyway, when the military conflict became not an easy repetition of the triumphal march on Crimea, and became a real, very strong, large-scale war conflict. So many people in Russia could see that the army is not quite effective as it should be. And the idea, because the Russian Ministry of Defense was quite active in PR activities and PR management before the military conflict. And also using the examples of Crimea, the examples of Syria, there was a very strong PR activity on the idea how strong is the Russian army, how invincible is the Russian army. And so the idea of the second army of the world was quite diffused in the Russian public opinion. And now maybe the main consequence of the real war conflict now is the dissolution of this legend of this myth about this second army of the world that is not so strong as it was shown to the public society. And because of that, all the patriotic circles became angry once again. And there were also, we could see the diplomatic history around the conflict, the negotiations between Russians and Ukrainians, first in Belarus and then in Istanbul. And so many people in the patriotic part of the Russian civil society, they are thinking that with these diplomatic negotiations, the Kremlin is just spoiling the war. So it's very paradoxical situation for them that the Kremlin has started the war, but has no political will to win the war. So, this is quite interesting characteristic of the current military situation, because we don't see the real political win to win the military conflict from the Kremlin side. At least many speakers on the social media from the patriotic part, many military correspondents on the front line are saying exactly this thing. So that's quite a schizophrenic situation for some extent. And maybe the last point about the general Russian public reaction to the military conflict. As far as I can see, the key point of no return, the key cleavage point was not 24 February, because at least as it was done in the Russian television and the Russian media, it was a kind of another long-distance war, like it was in Syria, like it was I don't know where, so nothing special, nothing has changed. But then the key cleavage point, the mobilization at the end of September, because now almost everybody can see that the war conflict could be something personal for his or her family. Also, it's quite interesting that exactly at the end of September, according to official pro-Kremlin sociological polls in Russia, the level of anxiety within the Russian society has raised from about 30 or 35% to about 70%. So twice as much. And in that sense, the society is quite preoccupied. And another point that because of this, it's the official term of the Kremlin PR, the gestures of goodwill. So because of all gestures of goodwill of deploying Russian forces from the Ukrainian territory to the borders, many Russian regions on the border with Ukraine, like Belgorod region, like Bryansk region, like Kursk region, they became at the real front line. And there are many drone attacks or some other attacks from the Ukrainian side to the Russian towns and villages near the border. And the people also thinking that the second strongest army cannot defend them on their own territory, on their own towns and villages, which are absolutely and de jure Russian, which were not the contested part with Ukraine, like the Donetsk region and so on. And that's why the people became anxious and preoccupied. So for the moment, if we can see the state television or the state media, we can see that all is brilliant, but there are many public and patriotic preoccupations behind the lines that I wanted to say. Thanks.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.